Hello YouTube! As you might have noticed, there's been a lot of hype around AI-generated chatbots recently on this platform, with many people trying to test the limitations of these robots, because apparently this new generation of AI is amazing. It's able to write scripts from scratch, it's able to answer complete questions, to the point that it has some people worried, are we going to lose our jobs to the machines? Now, as someone who works in AI, I'm of course a lot more skeptical about the capabilities of these so-called intelligences. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to take a top shelf chatbot to try and see if it would be able to do my job better than myself. Meaning that I took GPT chat and I asked it to give me the best bodybuilding program it could come up with. And as a bodybuilder, I'm going to judge whether or not this is something that is better than my own programs and if I'm eventually going to be replaced by a robot. So sit tight and let us look at what this, again, so-called intelligence created. So this 7 days AI-generated program opens up with chest and triceps. That is our day one. And we start with the bench press. So the AI is already smart enough to know that you're supposed to open the day with a compound movement. That is already great. Then it has us do inclined bench press. All right, so it's an additional movement for the chest that works the deltoids a bit more. That is acceptable and in line with the chest and triceps day. Then it has us do cable flies, back to back chest movements that is already questionable. Plus, it's not just that they're in a row, it's that it's already starting to be a lot for the chest. Then we do tricep push downs, skull crushers, and close grip bench. 2 isolation movements for the triceps back to back. One that is going to train the exact same muscles that the presses previously already trained, and then one for the long head. I'm very surprised that it would end with a close grip bench. I believe that, and it's not just that I believe, I know that the AI thinks by categories. So it has no ability to know exactly what a close grip bench is. What it knows, however, is that when you look up triceps into Google, most people recommend close grip bench. So it fails to understand that the close grip bench is an additional compound movement that mirrors the bench press. So we're already starting to see the limitations of this intelligence. Now, another thing that I'm certain you have noticed is the nature of the program just from that day. The AI came up with a bro split. That is very concerning to me. I'm not concerned because I'm going to be replaced. I'm concerned because the AI is somehow giving the worst type of training template to the person who asks, meaning that it's also breaking the first law of robotics that stipulates that AIs are under no circumstances to hurt people that they're supposed to serve. This constitutes hurt because it's going to hurt your gains, meaning that neither Mr. Asimov nor myself are very happy with this particular AI. The second day is back and biceps, which is a typical day that you can find in any given pro split. I must say and admit that at least it's not just a biceps day, so it's the least terrible type of bro split. It's just that you quickly find out that when you try to run a 2-muscle split, you end up having to do many exercises for the same muscles because you have to justify the fact that you only train that muscle once a week. So to look again at the day one for 1 second or two, this is why you end up doing 3 presses plus cable flies because that's the only part of the week where your chest is going to receive work. This is not the proper way to train, but we're going to see that the more we advance. So back to day 2. You start with pull-ups, that's not terrible, although I would argue that when it comes to back and biceps, you can always open with a heavy pull instead, it gives you more stimulus. But then you do lat pull downs. So clearly what this AI is doing is that it's pulling exercises from its database and it's trying to pair them together so as to train the muscle that is selected for that day as much as possible. That, of course, is not how you're supposed to program. If you want to do 2 exercises for the back on a given day, the smartest thing is to separate them, especially if they train a similar pattern, because doing them back to back weakens you and you get less results. So if you do pull-ups and lat pull-downs on the same day, which I already don't recommend because again, they're the exact same movement pattern, you want one to open the day and the last one to close it. Here you do lat pull-downs and pull-ups back to back, then seated row. So it's the 3 exercises for the back that are just put together. Why? Because the AI doesn't understand the concept of muscular endurance. It just thinks, okay, you want to train your back? Here, train your back. Do 3 exercises that are the exact same. Well, of course, it's not perfect. Now, to understand why the AI thinks like this, it's because it doesn't think. An AI is not actually intelligent. It takes and it pulls from a pool of data that it has available. It could be data provided by the person who codes the AI. It could be data pulled from the internet. Many of these new chatbots actually pull directly from the internet, which is why they also lack the ability to create anything relevant, because if their source of information is mainstream fitness, they're of course going to come up with garbage programs. Then you do bicep curls, so the first bicep movement for the day, it's back and biceps after all, hammer curls and concentration curls. Now, I question putting back and biceps together if there is no synergy. These two muscle groups already have no synergy to start with. Something like triceps and chest makes much more sense because when you train your chest, you train the triceps. But you usually never train the biceps when you train back. People who think that pulling a bar or doing a pull-up is going to blow up your arms are delusional. And apparently they think just like the AI, so there's a kinship here. Apparently there is a potential friendship between robots and humans. There won't be any war. The problem being here that I don't see any of that. I don't see any chin-ups. Why no chin-ups? Back and biceps, why pull-ups instead? Well, again, it's because the AI doesn't understand the distinction between pull-ups and chin-ups, at least not in these nuanced terms, but we're going to get back to that. So the bicep curls, you do then hammer curls, all right, that's not too bad because it's more forearm inclined, but then concentration curls, so back to back to back again, you're starting to understand the problem that we are facing with this AI in particular. Now, some of you could tell me that you have seen much worse than this program, and I wouldn't disagree. There is much worse. There are humans that manage to be even dumber than AIs, and actually that's your average fitness YouTuber. So day 3 is a rest day, which is not poorly placed at all. You did do a ton of upper body work on day 1 and day 2. But then day 4 comes up, and day 4 is shoulders and legs. So that's again also a very particular and peculiar type of split, because shoulders and legs don't go well together at all. You never train the two together with a similar movement unless you do push presses. Is it going to make me swallow my words and open with a push press? Of course not. You start with a shoulder press, which is a great movement for the shoulder. But then lateral raises, front raises, you get it. It's piling up as many movements for the shoulders as possible, immediately followed up by squats, lunges, and leg press. Again, no synergy at all, which is logical since the AI has no way to know that the shoulders and the legs don't work synergistically. It just thinks that these are muscles and therefore they can be paired, and that's that. And that's a big problem because a training program is supposed to be holistically crafted. Things are supposed to go well together. You can't just slap exercises on top of one another and call it a day. The front raises are completely redundant. You already did shoulder press, so it's not needed. If I were to take a quick step back and try to see if I can better these days created by the AI, what I would do personally is, one, I would never actually program with that type of split, but that's a different question altogether. Instead, what I would do is for day 1, I would have you start with a bench press. Then I would have you do something like a skull crusher that we could superset with a cable fly, and maybe an incline bench press to finish the day. The rest of the space I would fill with other movements and other muscles. As I said, it would be a gentleman split instead. Day 2, back and biceps, you would do pull-ups or lat pull downs to open the day, and we could superset that with concentration curls if we wanted, and then seated row and bicep curls would do the trick. Again, I would add more muscles. Apparently this AI has never heard about supersets because it never programs them, which again makes sense. It is pulling directly from the most popular training splits, which usually tend to ignore that practice in particular, even though it is one of the best things for bodybuilding. So for the day 4 shoulder and legs, you could do shoulder press to start and superset that with nothing. Instead, I would actually start with a squat. Start with the squat, then do your shoulder press that you can superset with something like a lunge, and then your lateral raises superset with leg press. Day 4 might actually be the best day of the program so far. Then we move to day 5, and day 5 is what I call the bullshit day that you can find in any bro split. You see, the issue when you only want to work 1 or 2 muscles per day is that 1, you only work them once a week, so it's terrible frequency, terrible recovery, tons of junk volume. But on top of that, if you want to do an everyday routine, you end up with days where you cannot train, you have nothing to do. So what do you do instead? You rest, or you do a bullshit day. A bullshit day is something like an abs day. Why would you do an abs day? Why would you go to the gym just to train your abs? It makes no sense. But the AI has you do it. So you do abs and cardio, you do planks, Russian twists, bicycle crushers, and then cardio machine. So you're going to attack the abdominals with a ton of sets and reps on one day, and then the rest of the week you're just going to ignore it. The intelligent and human solution instead would be to take each of these exercises and dispatch them throughout the week. Planks on one day, Russian twist on the other day. That way you can recover in between each session and actually get gains instead of killing yourself for no result. Because this day 5 is, as I said, a literal bullshit day, and I find hilarious that day 6 that follows would be a rest day. What exactly are you recovering from? Right? All of your abs supersets, or the day 4 maybe? That's a poorly placed rest day, which makes me question exactly how the algorithm places them, because it looks to be following a purely binary logic. It has you train 2 days, then it makes you rest 1 day, then 2 days, then a day of rest, etc., etc. Issue being that it doesn't understand really how much work it has you do, so sometimes it's justified and sometimes it's not, again, because it doesn't really know what it's doing. It's like a child repeating a song. It's very cute, but the song makes no sense at all. So after this rest day, you have day 7, and actually day 7 is a pleasant surprise because it's a full body day. So the AI has taken a bro split from some corner of the internet, then it tries to just mix and match it with this day 7 of a full body, which unsurprisingly is a much better day because full body splits are good splits. So you do your deadlifts, then you do push-ups, then lunges, then bicep curls, then triceps dips, then leg press. That actually is a good day. We could do supersets to gain some time, but this is the one part of the program where apparently the AI was smart enough to pull from someone who knew what they were talking about on the internet. But the problem is that you can't just put whipped cream on top of a turd and make it edible. It's the same problem here. This day 7, if it was standing by itself, would be good, but because it has to compete with the rest of the program, it's instead completely wasted. Because keep in mind that after day 7 comes day 1, and what do you do on day 1? Oh yeah, you do a shit ton of bench presses and tricep work. So why is the AI making you do some push-ups and some triceps dips on day 7 when you train the exact same muscle the next day? Well, it's because it doesn't understand what a week is. To it, day 7 is the end of times. Day 1 doesn't come after it. If it was following the proper logic, there would be a day 8, a standalone day 8, and then a rest day to follow this binary logic, but it doesn't do that because to it, you asked for a 7-day program, so nothing exists past the 7th day. It doesn't understand that the 7 days are recurrent. They're supposed to repeat themselves. And that really is the problem with AIs and why they are unfinished in their current state. It's because they lack nuance, and nothing makes it clearer than what happens when you ask an AI for fitness advice. So after the program, I asked it how I was supposed to run it because it never provided me with reps and sets, because to it, an exercise is again a standalone thing. It doesn't understand that it's supposed to come with numbers. A bench press is something you do for your chest. It doesn't understand that you're supposed to do reps with it. So afterwards, I had to ask the AI, hey, how many reps am I supposed to do? And this is the answer I got. I was told to do 6 to 8 reps for muscle strength, 8 to 12 for muscle size, and that anything above 12 was muscle endurance. So once again, you see that the AI is cruelly incapable of nuance. But here, it's not really its fault. It's just that it is repeating very popular fitness myths, and I'm certain that you know fitness YouTubers who say things like this, even though it's complete nonsense. Training for hypertrophy might mean doing 3 reps. It might be a 6 to 10, an 8 to 12, a 10 to 15. It's all up to your preferences and what you need to progress in that moment. An AI has the same dogmatic point of view about fitness as some influencers on this platform. But again, it does warm my heart to know that after the machines take over, there will be some humans left, because there apparently are some humans that think exactly like the machines, and therefore they will be welcomed with open arms. I'm also not too saddened by our potential disappearance on this planet, because it looks to me like this AI is a bro. 1, it runs a bro split. 2, it spits bro science like it's no one's business. Because when asked what the best muscle building advice is, it told me to keep the muscle guessing. So the AI is literally Arnold. It wants me to shock the muscle. And now I better understand why people think that these robots are going to take over. The thing thinks like the Terminator, quite literally. So maybe the future of humanity is not to be replaced by robots, but to all be turned into bros by robots, which at this point is not too terrible of a fate. Although I would say that based on this review, I think that you would be better off actually following a program made by a human, someone like me, for example. If you want to run a proper bodybuilding program, I placed 3 in the description for you. So far, it looks to me that my job as a fitness YouTuber is safe from the machines. But if you would like me to put more AI-generated chatbots to the test, let me know in the comments. I have many ideas and I would be happy to film them for you guys. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.